Curious Calico here, checking in for another session of therapy. I do appreciate you taking the time to tune in. Today, I'd like to briefly discuss a few general qualities I personally believe exist among many of the high value women of today. Now, I can already hear some of the naysayers out there attempting to interject with their pessimistic talking points. Assertive, some say, to be polite, yet at times others would agree without question, a bit overboard in terms of the vitriol and fury thrown at certain groups, as well as individual stances for that matter, going on and on about how they've never met anyone they consider a high value woman, or in other words, simply refusing to believe such a woman has or ever will exist among us. Either way, I'm not here to challenge anyone else's personal life experiences or perspectives pertaining to the opposite gender. To each his own. We're all products of our environments in one way or another. So anything I decide to speak on today, I do so as an individual man, not someone attempting to speak on behalf of all men as a collective. Every man out there has his own personal opinions and theories concerning female nature, based on a myriad of experiences as well as challenges he has encountered during several points throughout the course of his life. Every man's journey is guided by his own personal motivations. But with that out the way, I found myself intrigued with this particular question for a couple of reasons. The first reason was due to the unfortunate recent spike in the back and forth drama between the two genders, showing back up on the YouTube scene again. And the second reason was obviously ducktailing from what I previously stated. There's definitely no shortage of content out there when it comes to either gender, dumping on the other gender in one fashion or another. But what about that woman out there who has absolutely no interest in the trashing of manhood, and actually appreciates a high value man secure in his masculinity, and deserving of the respect he commands? Where's the message helping those type of women get a better picture of what high value men truly desire in a woman, and less of the negative rhetoric going on and on about what they can't stand? After all, as some of the more prominent YouTubers have mentioned, as a man, you shouldn't be dealing with a woman beneath your standards anyway. And if you decide to do so following your own lustful desires, then you're just as irresponsible as those women you love to complain about. No shade thrown, just calling a spade, gentlemen. There's levels to this game called life, and as men, we love to hold on to the fact, as a gender, at least we respect accountability. And at the end of the day, who can deny anyone with a true sense of purpose? So as a collective, continue to be that human reality check as a prideful group, and our credibility as a whole will never be denied in the eyes of those who actually make things happen out here. Now, obviously, I'm the first one up in terms of sharing my thoughts on this particular topic, or subject, if you will. But I encourage anyone out there listening to feel free to share your insight as well, should you feel compelled to do so for one reason or another, hopefully becoming one of the many to contribute to this discussion. I only ask that you do so in a respectful manner, allowing everyone to remain comfortable, expressing their viewpoints without any illogical ridicule or judgment, keeping this a place driven by positive energy and powered by solution-based mindsets, where folks interested in growing and building are always welcome to fellowship. Now let's get back to these ladies, or to be more specific, these high-value women. From my experience, it comes down to honestly only a few very important qualities I've noticed all high-value women appear to possess in one way or another. So please take a moment to listen to the entire message and avoid running the risk of being offended by something or viewing the expectations of high-value men as nothing more than unrealistic, fruitless requests, or demands, if you will. So without further delay, the first quality I'd like to discuss is probably the most obvious one to some. Here it goes. Simply put, high-value women recognize the essence of their femininity. Now, I can already hear some of you out there assuming you have this particular quality wrapped up, sealed, and delivered. As a matter of fact, you're ready to hear the next quality and may be ready to skip ahead to do so. And I can almost guarantee if you're not a bona fide high-value woman, you're most certainly incorrect in your assessment. To be perfectly honest with you, a true high-value woman would have never made the previous statement. That is, of course, without hearing the full message first. Get it? Maybe not. Well, either way, we're moving on. When I speak of femininity and how it relates to a high-value woman, this type of woman truly embraces the power as well as the potential that her feminine nature provides. And she quickly realized at some point in her life her femininity, if used properly, can get her anything she wants from within reason from any man she wants. This type of woman understands the importance of respecting her high-value man and sees no benefits from being combative or argumentative with her king. As a queen, of course, she's no one's pushover, but at the same time doesn't entertain the thought of approaching a man with the same type of masculine energy that he naturally gives off. She understands her feminine role as an equivalent and plays her nurturing position to help further establish the culture of the community, while maintaining all of the tasks and responsibilities required to keep peace and tranquility within her household. Not to neglect the fact, high value women don't underestimate their role when it comes to making love to a man's mind. As a matter of fact, she understands this is one of the key moments in which she at times is necessary, if you will, in the creation of much larger levels of success in a man's life. When she utilizes these opportunities properly and interjects her seeds of inspiration into the mind of her king, provided the guidance falls in line with the anima of that particular high value man, a new hustle then begins, usually ending in additional successes, further building onto their generational wealth. As expected, because when things are done right and structure and order are enforced, things always run smoothly, or is naturally designed, as some may insinuate. But to wrap things up when it comes to this particular quality, feminine women understand, simply put, women are the best at being women, and men are the best at being men. So any woman interested in making things easier on her future self needs to recognize sooner versus later the significant difference between chasing a man and choosing a man. Only those out there who fail to measure up in one way or another need to chase. All others who put in the necessary effort required to become high value choose exactly what they want and have no problem later submitting to their choice. End of discussion. Moving on to the next quality, emotional availability. I do believe this particular quality is pretty self-explanatory, but what I will take the time to clarify is the quality, in my opinion, is much more critical when it comes to a high-value woman interacting with and raising the children you hope to have together, and later send out into the world to become productive members of society and all that good stuff, right? Not that a man doesn't require emotional availability to further connect or bond with his queen, nor does he underestimate the value of the intuition she provides on a regular basis. But more importantly, having this quality ensures any selected woman is always readily available to empathize or console at any given moment. Pull her loved ones close to her and remind them everything will be okay under the toughest of circumstances. No matter the surrounding chaos, still having the heavenly ability to create pleasant memory after pleasant memory. Applying the keys to remain virtuous as well as patient and charismatic whenever someone else is in need. She happily does for others without any expectations or acknowledgments, insidiously cultivating a culture of love and family unity into our society. And the final quality I will touch on, again, just hoping to get this conversation kicked off. But before that, a little disclaimer for all of you out there who may possibly fall into this refuse to believe type of mindset, as far as the quality or conditions of today's women are concerned. There are plenty of very beneficial qualities encompassed in the high-value women of today, should you value yourself enough to elevate yourself to a respectable level of power. You will then be noticed, pursued, and chosen by one of these high-value women, and from that point you need to have your standards and qualifications in order to determine if you're willing to accept the invitation recently presented to you. Because once you as a man accept that invitation, you've also accepted the type of woman who extended the invitation to you. Now, being fair, everyone can be fooled or manipulated, especially if you generally look for the good in people. But if you typically hold frame accordingly when tested with respect to your calculated vetting process and incorporated a little old school courting at times, remember this allows any high value woman to then exhibit exactly what she brings to your empire, if anything at all. This screening process makes it much more difficult to get hoodwinked by one of these so-called baller chicks or gold diggers, if you will. Quite honestly, any woman coming to the table with an I mentality versus having a we mentality, ready to build and grow together for merely the well-being of one another, rather than any individualistic, self-absorbed desires. And we all know selfishness is a masculine trait no woman should harbor if she truly values her femininity. If a woman exhibits this trait more times than not, you may want to cut your losses. So back to the final quality I wish to touch on pertaining to this message, and that quality is a domestic woman who pridefully handles any duties involved with maintaining and running the family household. Again, at the risk of sounding redundant, this one is also pretty self-explanatory. A high-value woman understands the importance of cooking, cleaning, and all of the other tasks her king would like addressed, while he's out slaying dragons, so to speak, for the betterment of their family. She understands the consistent display of these skills allows her to further exude her value to her righteous man, and further cements the fact that she's fully vested in the success of this family unit at all costs. When a man can trust a woman to take care of everything at home, it allows him to completely focus and fully commit to accomplishing those achievements in life, which ensure he's not only able to accumulate, but also leave generational wealth for many years to come, ultimately fulfilling the overall essence of man, to protect and to provide. And this is something every high-value woman out there deserves to experience at some point in her life. I said all that to say this. Continue to own your feminine presence and remain that pleasant spirit that any high-value man would praise and cherish to your heart's content, as well as appreciate all of the ideas you have to offer. That is, assuming all of those ideas fall in line with his agenda. Ladies, if you're currently with a man and for one reason or another you do not share his vision, then I suggest you find an agenda to get behind, but understand this. You will eventually have to follow someone's program if you truly wish to be with them. High-value men tend to run dictatorships for the simple fact that they don't have to settle for anything else. I understand this guidance may be hard to hear for some, and even more difficult to process for others, but understand it comes from a place of positivity. And like it or not, push those feelings aside, because it's a stone-cold truth. So to sum things up, the three qualities I feel are common among some of the high-value women of today are femininity, emotional availability, as well as accountability in terms of domestic commitments. And there's no need to worry for the folks out there actually contributing to the uplifting of society. If things don't improve soon in terms of the current state of our culture, the few high-value folks still out there should have no problem identifying each other, compared to those individuals who sadly refuse to put in the effort to become better versions of themselves. If you consider yourself a high-value individual with much to offer in terms of building as well as contributing, you should only be focused on keeping like-minded individuals in your personal vicinity, or boundary for lack of a better term. If an individual over time doesn't prove to be an asset by nurturing your strengths as well as complementing your weaknesses, and would rather spend time cutting you down or challenging your authority, then accept it, cut your losses, and continue on with your quest to find your true soulmate. No need to be bitter or let any past situations run the risk of stealing your joy. Never beat yourself up too bad about some of those past choices, as long as you've taken the time to reflect and made honest attempts to learn from them. At the same time, don't submit to the temptation to pull the wool over your eyes. Always remember, as you move from relationship to relationship, that's 100% failure rating. Again, no shade thrown. This goes for everyone, myself included. Ultimately, anything you carry over from any past relationships that does not benefit your future partner is, whether we like the term or not, considered baggage. Whether physical or emotional baggage, this is technically your concern, and should not over time negatively manifest itself, later becoming a concern or a headache for your future partner. I know, in a perfect world. All the same, when possible, attempt to bring peace to someone's life and not pain. More importantly, continue to focus on pursuing the best version of yourself. And now that I think about it, I'm going to go ahead and throw in a bonus quality. Another very important quality several high-value women tend to share is the ability to develop and, when necessary, tap into their inner animus and recognize actually who's going for whose last name at the end of the day. And with that said, she steps up to the plate and completes the needful beyond expectations, no matter the demands, not only sealing the deal, but also solidifying the reason why her position is her position. Not only do high-value women avoid the typical hive mentality, which attempts to convince the American women of today that take them as they are narrative actually holds weight when it comes to attracting a high-value man. These high-value women understand right or wrong, regardless of what they think or feel. Attraction is non-negotiable, and that is without question a fact known by many, if not all, men of substance. Men who only spend their valuable time dealing with women willing to put in the required amount of effort to meet all of their demands without any complaints or contradictions. They don't entertain those overly hypergamous women who spend more time offering excuses rather than focusing on execution, or better yet, catering. What man doesn't love to be catered to these days? And once this logic has been communicated from her animus, she then develops her proper mindset to close the deal many women of today cannot. After the previously mentioned mental training, she then understands wholeheartedly without any shed of a doubt from that point going forward. The only course of action is to either make the necessary changes to become a more competitive, attractive version of herself, or she can keep doing her thing and get very comfortable with her current set of options. Ladies, it really is that simple. But if I may, offer a suggestion with no ill will involved. It would be to continue to work on yourself to attract your own version of your ideal man. So when the time is right and you finally found that special someone fit for leadership and protection as required, ready to build and explore all the things life has to offer, you can then look deep down in yourself and enjoy happiness, along with a peaceful state of mind, because you finally found your man to complement, who shares the same passions and desires that drive you. Now you just have to sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor as you should, as a high-value queen who has finally found her king. With that said, thanks again for checking in. If you found this content useful, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you don't mind, please leave your comments below and let me know if you have any suggestions for improving this channel. Until the next time, remain curious.